Is it live now? Okay. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm back here today in 0x Hack, now with two of my good IRL friends. We know each other IRL, even if we have been apart for a while. So Simona and Jay are here, and we're also waiting for Tana that has had some technical difficulties, crossing fingers to see if she can join later as well, because I'm sure she has great takes. But first, I'm MP. I work at Golem, and I am one of the hosts of the 8th Berlin Hackathon. And maybe Simona and Jay, you can introduce yourself.
Simona?
Cool. Sorry, I was just typing to Tana saying, hey, maybe you can feed us answers in chat and they will relay them live.
Yeah, we can always find ways to get you to join in.
Just say, Tana says this. So, hi, everybody. I'm Simona. I currently head up community for Status, as well as a bunch of million other things around the Ethereum ecosystem. And really just excited to chat about NFTs and where that's heading and what is happening, and kind of forget what has happened in the last 24 hours chart-wise, because that's just boring. So, yeah.
And I'm Jay. So I've been with QuantStamp since late 2017. Before that, well, and also through this whole time, I've kind of been more or less loosely associated with Decentral and like in Vancouver and other places around this space, kind of pre-company kind of time of Ethereum.
Cool. That's a pretty OG panel. And then we have Tana on chat. And Tana is, you are Tana, yes, she's on chat. So we have to improvise, She does art, and she's really well known at the DCTRL. I'm saying it right?
Decentral, Decontrol, same thing. So she's kind of part of the Decentral community, but loosely associated, and also the DDP community around, but she's kind of not as associated with Decentral these days. But she does a lot of she's been doing a lot more crypto art for a long time, even before NFTs became a thing. So she's an OG crypto artist. But these days, I think she mainly does NFTs on contract.
Amazing. We have in the slides a couple of commissioned NFTs. So I'm curious, Tana, I know you can hear us. You have in your email the link to all the slides from the panel. I am just going to show you some headlines and some images, and we're just going to talk about them and say what pops into mind. I figure out that was much more fun than, like the usual panel, and NFTs are all about having fun. So, just like Tana, you can also follow up and tell us what you think about it, and we will try to have a cool kind of session. All right, then I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to try not to dox myself here, which is very hard, knowing me.
The first rule of crypto panels.
All right, you can see my slides, right? Oh,
yes.
I put the last one. Really? I put the last one. Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
All right. So the year is 2017, and we are fresh out of the crypto ICO bubble and into the very first congestion that I can remember about Ethereum. And then when I was asking what's up, they told me people are buying cats on the internet. So yeah, very confusing times. But yeah, the OGs are the OGs. So what were you doing, Simona, at that time?
Honestly, I was not buying cats. That is my first confession. I was definitely not doing that, but remember it distinctly. Number one, now with the current levels that we're seeing in terms of NFT sales and so on, I remember those cats going for like some of the non-special ones for like $12 or $10 or something like that. And so you kind of think back to that time and you go, oh my God, things were so cheap. And then also this whole idea that 10%, or what was it, 10%, 15% of the whole activity was happening around these cats. It was incredible from the perspective that it was something so simple and so non-technical almost. That it was the first taste, certainly, that we got of coverage in broader media, right? And in broader media, like, hey, look, these crazy Beanie Baby type Pokemon style stuff is happening over here, but you still very much had that kind of tone of, oh, look at these crazy kids. What are they doing all the way over there? It's probably a fad. It will go away. Don't even concern yourself too much with it. But it was, I remember it being the first kind of mass coverage, genuine mass media coverage around it. That's what I remember.
I just want to say before I get your take, Jay, that yeah, Simona wasn't buying cats in 2017, but Simona has spent several days buying corgis. A few weeks.
I have 5.
Well, 1 corgi, okay. 2 corgis, okay.
Like I said to you before, this is what happens when you put me in a lockdown. Do not allow me to socialize with people, and also do not allow me to drink in restaurants. This is what happens. I buy 5, not 1, and so on. But yes.
But anyway. Are they cute?
What's that?
Are they cute, and have you named them?
They are adorable. No, I have not named.
So if you're deriving some amount of value from it, then that's worth it.
Yes.
Exactly.
I
remember at the time, like it was funny because I wasn't there at the time, but I did hear that the team who was making, like, it wasn't Dapper Labs at the time, but they became Dapper Labs. They were actually kind of doing some local talks here in Vancouver. And when I did hear about it, everyone was just like, oh, they're breaking network, they're all this, but I thought it was incredibly, really smart. You know, here's this marketing company, Axiom Zen, spinning out this project that ultimately showcases like, oh yeah, like they're just getting into it so early. And just understanding the technology. And I don't think that they knew that it could have gone so big, but you know, they definitely understand what virality is. And, you know, if 10% of people hate it, then it's probably going to go viral. But to the level of almost breaking the network, I think it was a big wake up call. And, you know, 3 years on, the network is so different. I mean, yeah, we're facing a lot of congestion, but generally it's a lot faster. You know, it can handle multiple, like, you know, on a daily basis, it just handles tons and tons of CryptoKitty-like things. Maybe the contract's a little more efficient or whatever, but it's been, you know, it's been a lot. And I think if it didn't happen, we may have been a little bit further back now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That was actually my wake-up call of saying, oh, okay, you know, Ethereum as it is, it's very limited in its scaling, of course, not limited in technicalities. And yeah, after that, you know, sort of like the surge of the layer 2 solutions began to pop up. So yeah, thankful for CryptoKitties then.
I wish I bought more CryptoKitties at the time. I spent all my money on cheese wizards. Not smart.
We have a question. Simona, what do you do with 5 corgis?
Honestly, at this stage, I just look at them in my the variety of different ways that I can now look at my NFTs. So I kind of just scroll past them and think, what will I be able to do with them? Will I be able to take them into crypto voxels and walk them? That might be a thing, right? All 5 of them. It could be like, you know, a whole vibe. I could do that. Not much else right now other than them prettifying and being adorable in my wallet. But yeah, so crypto corgi people, find me things to do in crypto voxels with them. That'll be fun. We need a park, and it needs to have a doggy park, and I need to be able to take them for a walk. I keep them well away from my moon cat, is essentially what's happening. That's it.
You need like talent dog shows.
Yes. Yes, that is what we need. So everybody write all of this down. We need that. We need dog park. We need all sorts of things to be able to do with these adorable creatures.
With these Zed horses or whatever they're called, you know, I mean, that's really the beginning of these kinds of application specific NFTs that have some, you know, recurring interactive value.
Yes.
So like a doggy park, you know, it sounds like, oh, whatever. But like Nintendo made so much money on like cat games, you know,
exactly.
Games in like on handhelds. And, you know, if you think back at the time, like maybe that's part of the inspiration for CryptoKitties. I don't know. But like, I think people are too rigid in what they think is a good idea or not. And maybe I can get too rigid in what a good idea is or isn't.
True.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a lot of things to explore.
Yeah. I have a moon cat. Boki gave it to me, and
the
name is Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I'm carefully putting my moon cats away. I don't want anyone to touch them. They're going to be worth so much later.
I think so. Well, you know, I hope so. But, you know, when you're thinking of all of these cats and dogs and cheese wizards and everything, you know, the main problem is, of course, liquidity. Because, you know, and I think that people are doing a really interesting job in, you know, creating liquidity pools and other tools for, you know, NFTs sort of become also an asset class. And I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, there needs to be another round of liquidity to drive up the sort of the high end like sales and more or less the floor. Because like there's a lot of in private sales with illiquid markets, there's a lot of bigger valuations and stuff. But but CryptoKitties, there's a lot of them, or sorry, Mooncats, there's a lot of them. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not keeping it as an investment. I just like the fact that I have something that predates, you know, the NFT, the ERC 721 standard. Like that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
In the history of, let's say, NFTs, you have that piece of like the history of art. You have that element of the evolution of the standards and the industry. So yeah.
Let's move on to the next title.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, I would, but
I can actually hear the music of that ad at the beginning of Tapes. Do you remember? And it was like, you wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal like whatever, DVD, I think it was. Yeah, that was it.
It was a
anyway.
DVD.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was, you know, when I thought it was a great meme because, you know, when the NFTs were sort of, you know, the rehype started to happen, then we saw a lot of people saying, you know, you can just save it. Why do you need it? And then, you know, all of us would go all together and say, you know, like actually you wouldn't, you can print out the Mona Lisa, but it's not like you own the Mona Lisa. And that was like sort of the example.
Tana was just saying, I had someone take a picture of my art with their phone at a show, and I yelled at them, if you screenshot, I will yell at you. So that's fair. But like, I also kind of like that argument of the like legitimacy. You know, it's you know, the more people that know about a particular image, the more notoriety it has, and ultimately the more speculative people will be about the NFT itself. Yeah, so but not necessarily about driving up price, but it is like the only reason why the Mona Lisa, it is true though, the only reason why the Mona Lisa is notable is because of just the drama that surrounds it. That's really it.
Yeah, that's true. I was reading actually that the Mona Lisa became the Mona Lisa once it was stolen. And yeah, I missed that part of art's history. Shame on me, but it's super interesting. It's also, you know, like anything that you see in a museum, and, you know, even the prices of a Rothko or whatever. So there's a lot of things that actually dictate the price, you know, like and the provenance. Museums, you know, help in that, collectors and art, of course artists as well, the state of the artist, and, you know, the way that the collection is curated as well. So, you know, it's not only one, it's not the art just because it exists that drives the value. And, you know, it's actually the same case with the NFTs. Because of course, you know, like some NFTs are really cool, like for example the hash masks. You know, you can find the rare ones, and you know what's driving the value of that X hash mask. But then others, you know, you really don't understand because the pieces are not that spectacular, but you know, they sell for a crazy amount.
Yeah, it's the distribution of where the NFT buyers and fans are not necessarily are sometimes with where really good art is, but not necessarily always.
Yeah.
You know, and it does, you know, even though there is this conceptual argument around what is the art and what is the NFT and what have you, it's like the artist still needs to get paid at the end of the day. And so I think there needs to be better ways to like more outlets that are accessible to people, not necessarily more marketplaces, but maybe more marketplaces, but more endpoints for people to access potential NFTs. Then there's just more opportunity for like an artist to like, okay, I'm going to put my art over in these areas because maybe I have a levered connection to these areas or whatever. And then, you know, but the ability to distribute payment to like artists is definitely a huge shift.
And I think that's exactly it, right? And I know we're chatting about this a little bit later on, but Chris, who created the Neon Cat, right? The whole purpose of selling it as an NFT was to tie that art to himself. Because a lot of the things, particularly with something like that went like super viral, when was it, like 10 years ago or whenever, there was no tie between him, the creator, and this thing that just had a life of its own, that was shared, reshared, used, reused, and so on. This kind of ensures that tie, right? Which is incredibly, incredibly valuable for the creator, because like Jake says, you need to get paid. You want to be able to get those royalties if it gets resold and whatever. Sure, share it, do all of the things that you would normally do with it, but have that tie to the original creator. And that's the thing that NFTs really manage and do very, very well, in a way that we haven't had ever, to do it in this very, very clean way, and being able to bake so many things into that tie, like, you know, this is in perpetuity versus one and done. And that's a real, real big value proposition there.
Yeah, not only that, but go on, Jay.
I was saying I completely agree.
not only that, but I'm also excited at, you know, if we're talking about a highly creative sort of space, I'm also pretty excited at the possibilities that NFTs give to different things. You know, an NFT is not only about art, it can be a financial instrument, like I said before. It can be used to, you know, to be exchanged for you know, ERC20 in the future as well. It can be used to you know, to depict to prove the authenticity of like a property contract and a property title, and those things are really important. So, you know, this narrative of, you know, why to buy an NFT when I can just click and save and all of that, because of the mere versatility of NFTs, I think it doesn't really hold water.
But I think it comes from, again, not being able to see the potential and not understanding what it actually can do.
Yeah.
And that's I think it's that curse of whatever has come before. These are the ways that we have done things. How could you imagine? And it's a, you know, it's a very normal thing at the beginning, which is very much where we are. For a lot of people, it just isn't. You can't really envisage what it can do. Therefore, you just go, well, this is a hilarious little thing. Based on what I know, this wouldn't work. Or I can just screenshot it and that's it. Or it's just a JPEG and all of that.
Yeah.
So I think as we evolve and as we learn more and as people get a little bit more comfortable with that potential and the examples start popping up a lot more and so on, perhaps we move away from this like silliness of I can just screenshot an image. It's fine.
Well,
all in due course. In due course.
Like all in all, anyways, taking screenshots and, you know, making sure the, like, you know, the NFT is replicated actually helps the value, helps drive more value to it. So, you know, I think it's a net positive in the end.
Yeah, I think it's just ultimately a conceptual argument that is hard for people to wrap their heads around, and or it hasn't been disseminated enough for people to, like, you know, believe that. And then when they understand it, then it's like, okay, you know, then it's kind of becomes a popular idea. So that'll come.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So next slide is about the celebrity NFTs, and this was my favorite. This, like, no joke, this was one of my favorite ones because, you know, it was actually quite early, and she or her agent, of course, you never know, they decided to mint NFTs, and yeah, this happened. So
it just seems so low. Well, okay, I think we've seen lower effort NFTs from stars, but this definitely feels still like, oh, let's just take a picture and let's Photoshop a Bitcoin logo on it and sell it. And like, it's just a quick buck. Like, that's kind of what's happening.
Yeah, it feels like, I think it's the biggest, I think whenever we've seen low efforts from popular figures and brands coming into the space because, you know, they have to sprinkle some blockchain on themselves to make themselves continually relevant. Knowing how high the bar is in crypto art, and when you know the type of talent that we have in the space and the artists that have been here since way before the, you know, before it was cool, you put them side by side, you're like, yeah, you're really not trying hard enough. And you almost, it's almost like there's that assumption that this is so new that shit isn't really that good yet, so this will do. And I think people forget that the bar, or don't know that the bar is so high. There are so many amazing artists. And again, they have been here since like 2015, 16, 17, 80, and like just doing this work and quality, that this kind of comes around. And when my feed is full of amazing art works and this comes along, and I'm like, ugh. This is definitely the odd one out, basically.
Yeah, it kind of feels like someone's just sort of patting you on the head and like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to take advantage of this, you know, and like, it's like, okay, I guess if you compare it to the entire art world, sure, the overall space is a little less mature, but at the same time, we're dealing with subjectivity here, and you're, you know, and when someone sees like, oh, this is all bad art, it's just like, well, okay, sure, there is a lot of bad art, but you could also argue that there is a lot of bad art elsewhere. I mean, like, why are we not applying art history to these here as well? Not just a, you know, art philosophical standpoint. Like, these are some of the first artists to try and create art that is unique in a digital space. You know, and they're actually playing with this concept in various ways, but because you're comparing it to, you know, things that sell, you know, continually sell a lot more over the time because it's generated some legitimacy to it over the ultimately the same 1,000 people, like, is your subjectivity skewed? Is there some bias there? I think there is. And then ultimately you come into the space and you just give a shit, you know, it's like you just don't give a shit and you just give whatever because it'll sell.
Yeah, from the other hand, you know, you have institutions, like, of course, you know, I do think that historians will write about all of these, and there will be a new class of critics and a new class of curators and art historians as well, covering NFTs. But it also says a lot about what people perceive are NFTs from, you know, like the popular standpoint, which is not actually the institutional standpoint. Because, for example, right now, Sotheby's just released their like digitally native or something like that collection, and it's very conceptually rich. They took care of doing the work and researching which were the artists that were there from forever, which are the artists that cover this particular thing. You know, for example, Ria Myers, who actually she's a very conceptual artist. And then you have the Terra Zero people that in 2018 launched a spectacular project that was linked to actual real flowers. So, you know, I do think that, you know, these kind of like gimmicks for people, it feels a little bit like just selling, you know, for like just assuming that because people in this industry have a lot of money really fast, it means that, you know, they're sort of ignorant. And on the contrary, you know, like generally when you get rich, it's because you're doing something right with your brain, you know. So you would be able to separate the weight from chaff here. Of course, you know, then I see Justin Sun bidding for this, and then bidding for a pack, and then bidding for Beeple, and I'm like, okay, you know, you just like you're just here for like the fame, and that's it. Like,
well, exactly.
Valid. You know, it's like, I think it's completely valid. He wants fame, and but you know, I do think that we are slowly getting there with regards to legitimacy.
Tana was just saying that she's experimenting with real-time self-portrait via Photoshop. Like this is the kind of stuff that I think gets overlooked. It's part of a larger conversation of digital art, that because you can't put it on your wall, it gets delegitimized to, you know, because it's comparing to centuries old canvas. And ultimately it's the same argument. People don't like, critics are old and they don't like digital art because they don't think it's good, because they actually don't understand the technology and the technique behind it that goes into this conceptual output. My two Gwei.
No, I fully agree. And as a matter of fact, artists that have been digital artists before NFTs have now, you know, and the general commentary from them is that, you know, their first sales was thanks to NFTs. So in the field of new media, which is something that it's not about NFTs, it's about net art, it's about experimenting with technology as a medium, it's about digital art as well, and it's a whole wide ass range from the real art world. Well, NFTs is actually the way to monetize, because it's very, very hard to sell a video, to sell, sound installation and whatnot. So, and I have seen also fascinating ways of, monetizing sound installations or albums being monetized through NFT crowdfunding. And I think, this is where NFTs shine. Honestly, the critics and the historians that don't see that this is, the way that new media finds, like new media artists are finding a livelihood, it's like at best ignorant, because they can't ignore it, like a whole category of art.
I think that has happened before. I think with digital art in particular, like the first artists moving into, let's say at the time, computer art, right at the very beginning, they were kind of shunned and pushed out of circles because it was like, what are you doing? This like crazy new, unheard of, unseen before, potentially screwing up the whole flow of art and all of that. Like, we have been here before, and I've said it before. It's like innovation always comes with a side of pitchfork, and also the club that is like, no, this is just a flash in the pan. Let's just like ignore it. It will go away like a fly.
They have vaults of canvas bags and they don't want to dump them.
This is true. I'm just imagining their full collection, like obviously in the literal sense of all of these tote canvas bags.
They're just selling paper, like, oh, you own this, and it all sits in the same vault. Like, give me a break.
Yes.
That's really good. Okay, let's cover. We covered a little bit me and Kat opening the doors for the meme economy, which is, in a way, and I had discussed about memes, whether they were art or not, in our 2019 paper, and it turns out, they are. So
we are in the meme economy. It is the meme economy that we've been talking about for years is like happening now, and it's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you feel about it, Jay? Besides it is very cool, of course.
At its essence, if you include NFTs, you include the concept of memes, and you include DeFi, ultimately it is legitimacy of internet culture of particular things around different UX cases, right? It's no different than our traditional market that has brand names and then, levered products on top of that. Like, yes, there's a company behind something, but a UX could also be the same thing. So now we're seeing, memes from very liquid tokens to memes to like, Doge is probably the cornerstone of the entire meme economy. And then when you have the original Nyan Cat, like these original people getting their internet points, actually being able to cash out, like, these are real memes from years ago that people are actually able to just cash out because it has so much legitimacy. And they'd be like, this is the original image. This is the original photo. This is it. And people are like, I want that, because they don't go away.
And, and again, coming back to that whole thing of being able to gain value if you are the subject of, or if you are the creator of, having that tie to that image that did go crazy and everybody used it and everybody like reused it and reused it and reused it. And then you're like, yeah, this is great, but where is the value that I can get out of it? And so with Nyan Cat, and then you have all of the Success Baby and the Bad Luck Brian guy, and all of these guys were finally managed to get a let's say, dollar value out of being plastered everywhere and being used by everybody all the time, it was great. But like, other than fame, what else do you get out of it?
No, it's a total testament also for reclaiming what's yours and what's more
Absolutely.
yours, the way that you looked or you used to look. I think it was the obsessed girl meme.
Yes.
That she was the first one that said, you know, this is the way that I have to actually claim my face, yes, and my image. Yes. And of course, you know, model Emrata also had mentioned she had the same problem before. And females in general have this problem because, you know, we're sort of easier to meme if we perpetuate, you know, like if we match a narrative, you know, the crazy girl, the girl with the chaos girl and whatnot. So I think it's really important because you know, it does feel a little bit like, you know, people just like trying to, you know, claim agency over like you.
But this is the thing, when you belong to everybody because your image is out there, how do you get to belong to yourself again? Right? Because all of these kind of became public property, all of these images, right? Nobody gave a shit who that person was or why this photo of them was out there, that people were just sharing and using and putting different text on it and all of that, like in the meme generator. And finally, you have that opportunity to say, okay, sure, fine, but actually, this is how I link myself to that, who is me. Or that in the case of the Nyan Cat that I created.
It's a great middle ground.
Nobody knew who Chris was and that he made it. Nobody gave a shit.
Yeah,
I get paid and everyone else gets to use the image.
Yeah, conceptually and financially, it makes sense. I hope also that this helps all the meme victims, to say it in a way, to, you know, find a little bit of just like peace of mind or something, because in the end, you know, I can't imagine what would happen if my image would get distributed as, you know, the crazy girl, for example, you know, no more boyfriends, or, you know, like just like being labeled constantly and being utilized as, you know, the poster child for obsession, and that is serious, you know.
Yep.
Like it's a parasocial relationship, but you don't have any income from that.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it was super, you know, it was like just like zero sum for them. So I'm super happy that they were making a shitload of money out of it.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah. And we arrived to our queen. The visionary, she's been with us since, I think, 2016. And, you know, now she created these NFTs. To do that, she does the work, you know. Not only she actually researched and, you know, started buying NFTs to support the community, because she does find value in the creator economy, and she's an amazing marketer of herself, and we have to give her that. But also she commissioned to Blake Catherine, that happens to be, you know, an OG from crypto art as well, and very talented, and, you know, a female artist. And female artists actually have a huge problem with sales in the space. So, you know, I think that what she does, it's super, like, really well thought and super considerate in all of the ways possible, that, you know, I have only admiration for Queen Paris of memes and crypto.
I think she's grown a lot, like from what the meme was that was spread, that she participated in spreading about herself, you know, in the early 2000s. And, you know, it's a great brand that she can use, but I think she's shown that she's trying to do a lot different, you know. Sure, she's ultimately a profit maximalist, but she is you know, promoting the space and actually doing a lot to be part of the space. And that's different. Also, Tana mentioned in the prior slide, so like an artist. So yes, exactly. Like the about getting paid and, you know.
I think the main, like drawing the parallel between the Paris Hilton stuff versus what we saw from Lindsay Lohan earlier, and again, a lot of different, let's say, public figures who are coming into the space. This feels like you were saying, researched, intentional, knowing what is out there, knowing that there is, again, a community of artists and creators that is already here, not coming and assuming you're walking into an empty room and everybody should kind of bow down because you're finally here. Again, just putting something out there to create something in an empty space. And I think that's a big difference, right? And I think that's why it's a much more, not only palatable, but a much more, I guess, respectable effort, and the fact that she collaborated with an established artist in the space. Like, all of the moves for what Paris Hilton did are definitely different to what a lot of people do, where it's just like a quick thing on the side. Yeah, let's get in there quick with one thing, like put our one finger in that pond and see what happens, right? This feels intentional. It feels considerate. It feels like it is a, you know, a genuine, let's say, immersion into the space, or a very, at least very well thought out.
Wow. And I have to say, I read, so Paris in her website has a guide on NFTs, and it's actually very, very, very good. You know, it's, of course, you know,
she's done the work, or
kudos to her ghostwriter,
someone,
because
yes.
I can imagine she's busy, and I wouldn't be able to, you know, cope with everything that she does, with, you know, the 65 perfumes and the music and the NFTs and the fans and social media. Like, I am sure she doesn't write, but I respected her, you know.
But finding the right people to put on your team is also very important, right? Get the people who know what the hell they're doing, who ideally have also been in the space and know what the, you know, the pulse is and how the shit works. That's also a good thing, right? Versus, again, assuming and then just doing some random tone deaf
Absolutely
kind of initiative. Yeah,
it's not disingenuous in the least, and it's indicative also of a larger trend. Like, we're seeing a lot of, you know, influencers, stars, you know, from other places coming into the space. But I think you know, a few years ago, I was like, we're gonna have to be okay with things being more or less, you know, our culture starting to get homogenized. I've kind of shifted tune in that, like, no, actually, we should just be more weird, and as we grow, like, and I think that's been reflected. Like, if you're not putting into the space, then what are you doing? And I think a lot of these big name people have understood that, and yeah, they're going to get their cut. Fine, they know how to do that. They're really good at that, but they're going to bring their product or whatever into it, and that's okay. That's what we expected. But what they're doing is they're trying to adopt, like, what is our norms and not the other way around, because there's no way and they're going to change this. And so that's really good, and that ultimately emboldens the culture set of the people. And I think Tana is actually with us now.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I think I needed to be added to the broadcast because it sounded like it was coming through.
Okay.
But hi, everyone.
Hi.
hello.
Happy you made it.
I'm sorry you guys can't see all my cool comments anymore.
Oh, and your T-shirt as well.
Oh no, I'm gonna show you guys that. So I'm sending you an email.
On Twitter.
The trusted email.
Ooh, Twitter. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, since I have to close in about 9 minutes, let's move into. Oh, Tana, maybe you want to comment on Paris commissioning art instead of just saying that she made it or anything.
I think that's great. I had no idea she was doing it, and I'm happy to find out that she is.
Cool.
And I particularly like this picture that you've chosen.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. Oh, Tinkerbell, rest in peace. What an icon. So yeah, about this image, well, my dog drinks my glass of water, so that's why. So yeah, about this image, basically, I'm talking here about collector DAOs. The Pleaser DAO came together to buy pleasers, people pleasers, NFT that was the Uniswap V3 trailer. And they managed to get two of the most historical ways of like the fathers of the Web3 message and owning your data and being mindful about privacy, that are Tor and Edward Snowden, respectively. They minted NFTs. Tor to fundraise for the Tor Foundation, and I think Edward Snowden was for freedom of press, if I'm not mistaken. And Pleaser DAO, it's like formed by a bunch of DeFi people that have quite a lot of buying power. So they decided to bid, and that's the way that not only they're owning a piece of history, but also they're donating to an underfunded causes that are really, really good. So yeah, I just gave you the preface, so now you run, girls.
I mean, I think
that's all I wanted to say.
What did you say?
I love this idea of DAOs that create derivatives. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the whole dynamic of, again, being able to, particularly the Tor one as well, because they collaborated with a female artist also. I think I read that it was the highest sale for a female artist. They collaborated, I think it was Itzel.
Yeah.
They collaborated with her, and it's now one of the highest, if not the highest, sale for a female artist. I think it's such a wonderful dynamic of raising money for a worthy cause without doing the usual let's do crowdsource, or let's set up 1 million organizations and do all of the admin and all of that, which probably wouldn't manage to get as much money anyway over years and years. And so having this collective buying power, organizing a DAO, being able to so seamlessly transfer value in one kind of transaction, in one auction, is fabulous. I think it's one of the most wonderful things that you can that we've seen in terms of NFT dynamics, and also DAOs, right? Like, if we're talking about DAOs being relevant and all of the cool stuff, DAO, this is the type of shit that is amazing to see. Super swift coordination, people actually doing things, people like not spending 10 years voting on one proposal, right? Right, we want to do this, here it is, let's pull money, and off it goes to support worthy causes. Wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's really great to see. I think the derivatives, I mean, to jump off of what you were saying, Simona, the proliferation of DAOs is going to be more and more important. And we're going to find, I think, ways to bridge more intrinsic forms of value with that of like more monetary. I mean, obviously there's always going to be the stuff that people are going to find, like there's not going to be another buyer, and so it's not necessarily going to make, it's not always going to translate, but I think that barrier is lowering, and I think that is really important, because the more that all of this integrates on this big sort of composable system, the more places we have access to sort of bring value into this whole ecosystem, and then ultimately, you know, the what we're all using, which is ETH, which is I think a really good thing, because then there's a translation between what you need to survive and live to what people actually enjoy, you know. And I think there's I think on the long term we're going to see more of that.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it also makes sense to highlight how this is also like a non-fungible and living forever testament that, you know, the first age of, you know, privacy consciousness is actually deeply coupled to Ethereum. And I think that's actually really important, because you know, you can say anything about, you know, the first generation of cypherpunks, and you can say anything, you know, you can decouple actually the, you know, the problems with privacy and owning your data from blockchain and the blockchain frenzy. But these guys are actually entrusting NFTs to, like, for their legacy to live forever, because that's what NFTs do, you know. So I think that's something that, you know, needs to also be added.
Yep. And actually, I wonder if we have time to get to the NBA Top Shot slide. I don't know if we do.
Did I maybe I forgot about adding it. Do you have any thoughts? Can you hear us?
No, I have no thoughts. I am hearing about the Please or DAO thing right now.
Cool. Oh, okay. So this one was Jay shaking her head. Do you want to do the preface?
They
do
shit.
it.
The what?
They like so. I mean, look, it brings legitimacy in. Christie's like, oh, like, let's be cool and let's do some punks and stuff. And then they just like, you know, one of those punks, one of the, like, for 6 of those punks sold for the price of less of like than the worth of one. And it's because the format just didn't work. And they're like trying to control the process when it's just like, it's not live. And Christie's trying, this is an example of Christie's trying to be cool when they're not actually evolving their workflow. I will give them credit that they were using Twitch and they were like, okay, let's actually, no one cares about these Christie's auctions and everyone's, oh, you know, let's actually try and modernize for once. But it felt ultimately disingenuous. But I think they were on the right path.
Yeah, the funniest part was actually the display. I think it was
Yes.
it was a tiny thing in the wall, like, and they wanted to explain that it resembled the actions, you know, like here in Europe. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but so Space Invader is a street artist, and they paste these tiny tiles in the street, but you can actually see those tiles, you know. Like, you couldn't see that punk. So that was actually really hilarious, but worry not, because today actually they weren't done with desecrating, and it's not about NFTs. They also modified the aspect ratio of a Warhol. So I like that you know, I actually appreciate that they're giving the punks the same treatment as Warhol. They desecrate everything or they don't desecrate anything. So fair. You know,
They think that because they're Christie's, they have such a levered position on the industry, but what they don't understand is that the people who are buying their art, which are all locked in vaults, it's a completely different system, and they're on the wrong side, and they need to really rethink how they approach this, because they are taking for their own purposes, and they're not being additive to the space just at the end of the day. And they're like, well, no, it doesn't fit this, like, we're going to change it. And you know, like you said, they always do that. They're always doing that like they did that to Warhol. Like, it's like, you know what, at some point you gotta question, you know, are you just trying to make yourself look like an idiot on stage? Because you're doing a really good job of that.
Maybe it's all a performance, you know. They can NFT that performance. There you go.
I genuinely would love if that was their end plan. It was this elaborate memeing situation that then we find out 5 years down the line, they have this collection of like memes of the shit they did wrong. I doubt it, but you know,
luckily,
never say never.
Recorded. And Christis, if you can hear this, I own that intellectual property, so I'm gonna claim the royalties. Just so you know. Okay, guys, we actually have to close. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much, everyone. And do you have any closing thoughts?
Just excited to be here and be in the middle and on the sidelines at the same time, watching it all unfold and evolve, and like, brace yourselves. The best is yet to come.
I don't think it could have been said better than that. Yeah.
No, it's been a good morning, and I'm going to have a coffee now. Thank you so much for having me and enduring my difficulties.
Right. Have a great day, and see you.
I'm glad you're able to join us in the end.
Yes.
Yeah, I said a few things. It was good.
Thanks, MP. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.